Welcome to COSAC Connect. My name is David Lynas, founder and chair of COSAC. And whether you are a long-standing member of our COSAC community or you're joining us for the very first time, I warmly welcome you to our event. At this time of year, the COSAC family expected to be meeting in person here at the fabulous venue Killashee Hotel in County Kildare, Ireland, that has been our perpetual home for 20 years. Instead, due to the dreadful circumstances that have affected us all, we've had no choice but to defer COSAC. I know from the very many messages that you have sent that we will all miss the opportunity to gather in person. COSAC regulars understand that very special moment when we travel up the tree-lined avenue, catch our first glimpse of Killashee's old house, and know that it is once again COSAC time. I hope you enjoyed our virtualization of that arrival experience. Just as with in-person COSAC, to get us underway, I will take this opportunity to introduce you to the COSAC experience, set some expectations, describe what makes COSAC such a unique event, and highlight how we plan to transfer the special COSAC ethos to a virtual environment, just as we did with the arrivals experience just now. The COSAC story began all the way back in 1993. I lost my patience with the traditional conference market. I fought tooth and nail all year to beg, steal, and borrow budget. It was hard to get. My plan was to use that hard-earned budget, getting advice on how to do my job better, to learn from others how to really solve the significant challenges I faced as an information security professional in the real world. I believed the return on investment was that I would in turn be able to deliver value to my company. But my naive expectations turned out to be very different from the reality I experienced. Yes, there were moments when I was impressed by a speaker. Yes, I did find a few takeaways and nuggets. But most of the time, I found myself searching through the program, trying to understand where I could possibly find value, or worse, feeling that I had paid for the privilege of attending a sales pitch. Almost nothing seemed designed to serve someone who'd been there, done that, and bought the t-shirt. The material I really needed to take me to the next level of my career was largely absent, and very little of the conference involved actually conferring. So I set out to build a conference the way I thought a conference should be. And here, 28 years later, we have come full circle as we take our very first baby step to building a virtual conference the way a conference should be. You should all know that Rule 1 of COSAC is that sales content is strictly prohibited. That rule applies equally here at COSAC Connect. Our fantastic presenters here at the very first COSAC Connect are all experienced COSAC participants. They know the rules and they wouldn't dream of breaking them. I can guarantee you that over the course of the next 2 days, no presenter will subject you to a sales pitch. Their aim is exclusively to deliver value. The value of a COSAC session comes primarily from its content. And at COSAC, we believe our agenda selection process is unique. We don't start with a hot topic soundbite theme and expect presenters to be molded to that theme. Our world and our problem space moves far too quickly for that, and it's far too complex for one topic to dominate. Our call for papers is open to anyone from anywhere at any level of any profession. We expect detailed proposals spelling out the value a presenter intends to deliver, not a 30-word soundbite. And all of those proposals are assessed blind by 10 regular COSAC participants. Of those 10, only I know the identity of the proposing speaker. A possible illustration for you of the results of that process are that here at our first COSAC Connect, male presenters are in the minority. I wonder how often that happens at other events. You cannot buy a slot at COSAC by being a sponsor or an exhibitor. The only way to get to the front of the room is to propose material that your own peers regard as the most valuable content of the year. Don't expect COSAC value to come from traditional conference lectures on basics about our profession. Today's circumstances have taught us in no uncertain terms that there will always be a new normal. And the world in which we live, the technology we use, guarantees that new normals are likely to occur more and more frequently. Our success, the success of our profession, the success of our organizations will surely be defined not by following yesterday's standards or best practice, but by the ability to adapt to new circumstances, to innovate new approaches that deal with tomorrow's problems. So the ideal COSAC session will balance original, leading-edge content with real-world pragmatism. It will challenge you to find a new way to think and a new way to do. Don't be surprised if a COSAC presenter challenges themselves, because high profile as they may be, they also have the enormous professional integrity to say, this subject is new. I know I am not the world expert. There may not yet even be experts on this subject. But I am going to frame tomorrow's challenge for you and hope that by conferring together, we can develop the right approach. That is the COSAC way. It is part of what makes a speaker a COSAC speaker. At COSAC, we deliberately set out to take conferencing to the next level, to challenge each other to start where other conferences stop. And that remains an objective even in our virtual format. Almost by definition, our desire to take it to the next level, to define the future, involves challenging the norm, pushing boundaries until they are proven or surrender, rocking the boat until it sinks or its resilience is proven. If the emperor is truly missing some clothing, then we all need to know, and someone has to have the power to say that. To find the right answer, sometimes thorns do need to be grasped, and bulls really must be taken by the horns. So COSAC is the place where our profession says what needs to be said, even if others fear to say it out loud. More importantly, COSAC gives us the opportunity to listen to what needs to be heard, no matter how challenging that subject might be. But the COSAC way is to both speak and listen with mutual respect, even when we disagree, and we will. COSAC has a truly global participation. And while we will lose some of our traditional intimacy here at our first COSAC Connect, we have continued that trend with 500 delegates from more than 40 countries. That diversity of culture brings a rich tapestry of opinions and approach from which every one of us can learn. No hold is barred at COSAC, but none should suffer in the process of debate. So please use our interactive facilities with respect for others and respect their opinions at all times, just as you would if you were physically here at Killashee. A huge part of the COSAC ethos is its culture of trust. And it is in this area that we face the greatest challenges in moving to a virtual event, and we have had to make some adjustments. For those new to COSAC, it may surprise you to find that under normal face-to-face circumstances, many COSAC sessions are run under the principles of non-attribution, in some cases under full formal non-disclosure agreements. Sadly, we cannot replicate those mechanisms in a virtual online forum, but we still aim to create an atmosphere of openness and mutual benefit for all. Normal face-to-face COSAC events have a very strict no publication policy. COSAC materials are never published outside of the event itself. So one major change we're implementing for COSAC Connect is that materials will be available on demand through the COSAC website, cosac.net. Please monitor our social media channels and websites for updates. COSAC participants should not expect to be an anonymous face in an anonymous sea of faces listening to a boring lecture. We believe that every participant has an experience worth sharing and an idea worth developing, and everyone at COSAC is treated as a peer. For many members of the COSAC community, a key differentiator is the degree of interaction and participation built into workshops, masterclasses, and conference sessions, often characterized by continuous value-seeking interruptions, questions, debates, challenges, and points of discussion. The interactions and debates often run for many hours after the official end of sessions through receptions, fine dining experiences, and network events each evening. Of course, for COSAC Connect, we cannot serve you a 7-course banquet online, but we are presenting a number of mechanisms to encourage interaction and debate. We expect that the final 30% or 20 minutes of every session will be available for interaction. The first channel available to you is the chat window, which appears on the right-hand side of your screen. Chats can be entered at any time during the event by typing into the chat box labeled "Say Something Nice," as shown by the yellow circle on my slide. The chat window will be reset between conference sessions. During many of the presentations, you will see participant polls appear in the polls area of your browser window, again indicated by the yellow circle. Every participant can vote once in every poll. The polls may be referred to by the presenter in the course of a presentation or integrated into the 20-minute participant interaction at the end of each session. Again, polls are cleared at the end of each session, but will be available as part of the recordings on demand. Participants may ask a question or raise a point for discussion at any time by typing into the Ask a Question button, again highlighted by the yellow circle on my slide. Within the questions and answers window, you will see a voting button as highlighted again by the yellow circle. You can upvote the questions or points for discussion at any time during a presentation. Questions will then be dealt with in the final 20 minutes of each session as time allows and in the order dictated by participant votes. As a questioner, we will invite you on stage to ask your question live and interact with the speaker. If your question or point for discussion is therefore near the top of the question and answer window, please ensure that your camera and microphone are operational, and you can test that very quickly at crowdcast.io/setup. We will also post a testing link into the chat window. If you prefer not to come on stage, but have your question read out on your behalf, please simply state "no stage" when typing your question. A very large part of COSAC is our program of networking. Discussions, arguments, debates continue long into the evening in many cases, and under normal face-to-face circumstances, we will provide you with receptions, networking events, and 6 or 7 course fine dining gourmet dinners. We can't, of course, replicate that in a virtual environment, but we have taken the step to create what we call the COSAC Networking Lounge. After conference each day, we will invite you to that virtual event, which will be accessible for 60 to 90 minutes. Instructions for accessing the event will be posted regularly in the chat window. Between sessions, when one speaker has finished and the next is in the process of taking the stage, you may see a notice on your screen that says "Speaker Getting Ready." That should be present only for a couple of moments. If for any reason the speaker is delayed, such as with audio-visual challenges, that notice will remain in place. Under normal circumstances here at COSAC, we would ask you for your feedback for every session. In this case, we're going to send you an email link after COSAC Connect for a single feedback form. We truly do appreciate all feedback. I personally read every feedback form, and we would greatly appreciate your views on how we can take this event on the next step of its journey to be the best conference of its kind. So what is next for COSAC? The world is a very uncertain place, and regrettably, we are not physically present together here at Killashee at this time. Initially, I postponed COSAC and the SABSA World Congress until February, but it would now appear that that was optimistic. Please watch the website for updates, but it is likely that we will schedule COSAC 2021. COSAC and the SABSA APAC Congress at Collins Square in Melbourne, Australia, that is definitely postponed and will return in December 2021. As for this event in its virtual form, we plan to run COSAC Connect at least twice a year, one with an emphasis on Northern Hemisphere presenters and one with an emphasis on Southern Hemisphere presenters in order to match the time zones of our participants. So please do monitor the COSAC website and social media feeds for details of all of our events and call for papers. What are the outcomes you should expect? When I set out to create a different conference experience, top of my agenda was real value that comes from real shared experience with people who have genuinely been there and done that. The audience treated as peers for a mutual consultation. I genuinely hope that after this experience, even online, you get a flavor for how the COSAC event works and the value that is possible for each and every participant to take from that event. Some of our participants have been kind enough over the years to say that COSAC changed their career. One or two have said it changed their life. Back when I had challenges with the conference market, perhaps I was naive, but my intent, my desired outcome from attending a conference is that it would indeed change my career and change my life. That's what I'm investing in when I spend time at a conference. I hope that COSAC has a dramatic effect on your career and possibly even on your life. It did for me. I'm biased, of course, but those members of the SABSA community may be surprised to find that COSAC is older than SABSA. In fact, I met my co-authors of SABSA, John Sherwood and Andy Clark, right here at COSAC, and we developed professional and personal relationships from there. I hope that you too will find value in the relationships you develop here at COSAC, even in a virtual environment. But I also hope that that little experience virtually will encourage you to attend COSAC face-to-face whenever we are able to schedule that event. I set out to create a peer group, a trusted mutual consultation with this event. It became, over the years, a community, and for some people, it became a family. John Serrallo, who many of you will know from Florida, has often declared on the Sunday welcome dinner at COSAC his routine for his arrival. He pauses at the door of the reception on the first night of COSAC, takes a deep breath, and switches his mentality to what he calls COSAC mode. From that moment, for the remainder of the week, he is no longer alone in fighting all the challenges we face. Thank you all very much indeed for sharing my passion for COSAC. All that remains is for me to officially welcome you to the first ever COSAC Connect. Please do have an excellent event, and please do not be shy about contributing to each and every session. Thank you very much, and your first presenter will be with you shortly.